Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Dustin, today a bit of a milestone. Whiskey review, individual whiskey review 250. So we thought we'd bring you a nice whiskey to commemorate the occasion, the Lagavulin 25-year-old from 2016. Yep. Dustin comes in at a whopping 51.7% ABV, sherry matured Lagavulin, aged 25 years.
Look at that color.
Buddy.
I mean, look at that color.
Bit of a history with this bottle in us, Dustin. This is the one I got from the Party Source in Bellevue.
Oh, yeah?
The one that I was going to buy, and I asked them to hold it for me. Then they lost it in the bottom, in the safe in the bottom, and they told me they didn't have it. And then they found it again and put it back on sale. And then finally, Micah, the general manager over there, gave me a great price on this one, something I couldn't pass up. So picked up this bottle, first of two Lagavulin 25s that I have. And let's pour heavy, buddy, because we've been waiting a long time to get into this whiskey. In fact, when I did pick up this whiskey, picked it up, visited you on the way back. We had a little lunch.
Yeah.
And we talked about the day we'd be sipping on this beautiful whiskey. I kept it closed for about a year until I got a second one.
It's also the first time I've ever, had a separate seat needed for our whiskey.
Yes. It was a gentleman of distinction.
Yes.
At our lunch, we were at a nice Irish pub, and it had a seat right next to us.
Yeah.
And can't really reserve seats for such frivolous things these days. But at the time,
well, actually, these days it'd be easier because of COVID. They got distance.
It has to wear a mask.
It would have to wear a mask.
It's essentially, you got the shot. That's how they do you. Anyway, let's get to the whiskey, Dustin. Again,
can't let that cork come out in public.
Again, Lagavulin 25, cask strength 57.1. This was bottled in 2016, a part of Lagavulin's 200th anniversary, or at least 200th anniversary of distilling legally. I'm thinking they probably were going on for quite a bit longer than that. But, the bottle too also has all of the distillery managers, their names on them right here. It's a pretty famous bottle for whiskey drinkers, especially fans of Lagavulin. So
and it's got this little medallion thing so we can make noise.
Yeah, the medallion always slides to the back of the box when I put the bottle in.
Yeah, I guess if you'll hear it coming if somebody's watching. Oh, you won't really.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Kind of hangs there. It's the bronze medal. The bronze medal of the 1991 distillates. We'll get to that, though. So again, natural color, very, very, very dark whiskey. Almost mahogany colored. I remember I first got this bottle, I had it in my hands in person. I thought to myself, man, that is a dark whiskey for any whiskey. I mean, this is Glendronach darkness.
Yes.
Glendronach 18 darkness.
Does it say officially if this is a first fill cask?
No, it just says sherry wood. So it is like anything else that, it says natural cask strength. It says matured in sherry oak casks. And that's really all the details they gave you.
And how many bottles again?
I believe 8,000 of these bottles.
So that's at least 12 sherry butts minimum, so it probably is a mix.
Yeah, actually it is 8,000. This is bottle 0891. So I have 0891. I think I have 08 or 0521 as well.
Not a single person watching this review cared.
No, I'm always weird about numbers, as you know.
You are.
I just like them. All right, so on the nose. Wow.
This is just crazy.
Big sherry.
I mean, it is meaty, minty, sherry. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's almost like beef jerky, salted steak. I mean, with sherry and mint.
There's definitely mint. There's definitely tobacco.
I was just getting ready to say I'm starting to pick up earthy, like, wet tobacco leaves.
And just the best of that, aristocratic Lagavulin smoke. I mean, it's there, but in a wallop.
I get none of the traditional Lagavulin malt sweetness. The sherry is so rich here. The smoke's there, the peat's there, but that traditional sweet Lagavulin that you get in like a 12, it's not here.
No, yeah, the sweetness from the distillery characteristic is being covered up somewhat. And I will tell you this, both from the 21-year-old that was bottled in 2012, the 1991 vintage, and the Jazz Fest from 2013 are ones that are heavily sherried with just good old-fashioned sherry and nothing else. The overly sherried Lagavulins, as I've come to refer to them as, and this is an excellent example of that. Overly sherried Lagavulin.
Some cigar smoke.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a cigar smoker's whiskey.
Yeah, and there's definitely there.
Because it offers sweetness along with that, tobacco note and that beautiful mint.
Yeah, but it is smoke bitter forward. The sweetness is secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And
it may be secondary, but it's, large amount, if that makes sense. Like, even if something's first, second, or third in this whiskey, its third or fourth place would be something's dominant characteristic. It's that
everything
strong.
in this thing is turned up to 10. There's nothing, there's no 8s, there's no 9s.
So rich.
It's funny, every time I come back to it, the first nosing I get, a lot of sherry. Then if I smell again quickly, it's more tobacco and spice. It just, it's evolving constantly. I mean, that mint is just, I remember fighting on mint when we first had this. Like when we first opened it up, I remember thinking, is it mint? Is it menthol? Is it spearmint? We struggled.
Well, I thought I
You picked
identified
it up.
mint, pretty quickly. That had to grow on you a bit. But you're right, there is a very tobacco along with the mint note, and they're really walking hand in hand all the time. If I'm picking up the mint, I'm picking up tobacco too with this.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of black pepper in there. A little bit of black tea even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right about the black tea. Iced black tea. Almost gritty black tea.
I mean, I almost think of smelling a bag. Like,
Oh yeah,
like
that's what I mean, gritty. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
actual like the tea leaf bag.
Just incredible, Mike.
You know what? I don't get any of the traditional notes I would like normally think of with the Lagavulin 16 or the Distiller's Edition or the 12. Maybe other than the mint. The mint is here like it is on the 12, but it's a different kind of mint. But like the citrus notes really aren't here because the sherry is just so dominant in this malt. What do you pick up the palate, man?
Everything. Everything we just said's there. But it's interesting. When you first go into it, you pick up the sherry, but you also pick up that mint, tobacco, spicy teas, some spice. I mean, there might even be a little hint of cayenne pepper or something in there. And then I get classic Lagavulin comes in. Again, not some of the vanillas that I associate with the traditional malt. That obviously I'm thinking of bourbon barrel finishings traditionally with that. But even the 16's got a fairly, vanilla sweet Lagavulin malt. That's not, it's more here than it is in the nose, but it's not super here. What you do, however, get is all that classic Lagavulin smoke, and it's distinct where you get the sherry spice, tobacco, mint, and then you get Lagavulin's meaty, hearty earthiness. So it does a really good job of kind of giving you everything and getting it to you in a kind of a 1-2 transition.
Yeah, you're right. You started out by saying it's all here, but the spice is dialed up, and you're exactly right. It is incredibly spicy on the palate. That spice and that sherry oak note, they're waging war as far as who's taking precedent. But after you kind of get past that a little bit, that cooling mint comes in, lovely tobacco leaf. The smoke in this is still big, but the sherry notes and the wood smoke from it actually start to cover up a little bit of the actual smoke from the peat itself. The overly sherried Lagavulins, to me, have a sootiness to them that I have often referred to as liquid smoke. And what I mean by that is if you had charcoal and you had like 2 parts charcoal and 1 part chimney ash, and you liquefied that somehow and added some confectionery sweetness, it's almost that type of flavor. It is so rich, so dense, so liquid soot. It is just road tar on a cool day, but somehow the road's still soft and warm. It is just a masterpiece, like the Lagavulins that, like the 2015 Facial and some of the older, Jazz Fest from 2013 and the 21s from, 12 and 2007. It is one of those epic sherried Lagavulins that, they just don't really make these days. I have the 22, we've had that a few times, the new 21, the 19 Jazz Fest, and it just pales in comparison.
Now, we should say this is 2016, it's only 4 years ago, so, they can't put out a winner like this every single year. I wish they could, but
Yeah.
these were special casks they saved for a special event.
But Lagavulin was really on a roll. Like the 2012-21 was a stunner. 2013 Jazz Fest, 2014 Facial, 2015 Facial, and this one right here. So probably for 4 or 5 years, every special event the Lagavulin had, they turned out one true stunner. It seemed like.
Yeah.
And this is like the last one of the stunners, at least for me. But that doesn't mean this one isn't a stunner. This one is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, well, we've had a few NASs that have really impressed us in the last couple of years that kind of were shockingly good. So it gives me a lot of hope that the quality casks that Lagavulin has, they're still there.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't found the right combination the last couple of years to push it.
And you're right. I mean, they probably saved some casks to make this a truly special Lagavulin. I wonder if all of these are just only 25-year-old whiskeys. I'm wondering if there is an older whiskey in this because it comes off like it definitely could be 30-year-old type of whiskey.
We don't use the tobacco and
It's rare.
notes very often, especially in Scotch. Bourbon occasionally, you get that a lot more. Mm-hmm. We're saying a lot of words that I associate with 30-year-old whiskey.
True, and we were saying a few words here that I don't necessarily associate with Lagavulin.
Yeah, well, we also said a lot of words about spice, which could very much be European oak spice coming through. And again, when you're talking about that much sherry, you're still getting it. That really could be a sign there's some 30-year-old whiskey in here.
Yeah, and some casks that maybe weren't first or second fill, but ones that really had a lot of life left in them, and really caressed the whiskey extremely well.
Yeah.
All right, so we had a couple drops of water in this beautiful thing. You picking up anything different?
Not really, Mike. A little more sherry's coming through. A little bit waxier, maybe.
I was very sparing. I gave us both exactly 2 drops.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't want to throw a lot in there.
But yeah, the thing is, this isn't a whiskey that comes off closed off. As much as we're talking about how rich and dense and advanced it is, from the day we opened this, and we opened it together back in October, so it was ready to go then.
Yeah.
Now I feel like, I'm picking up a little more of that mint, a little more spice, but the evolution of this bottle has been, it started great and it's still great and it's not changed a lot. And I think that's just a testament to just a ready to go whiskey.
Yeah, the neck pour in this pour, which, we've worked the bottle down, about halfway. And, again, like you said, you got in October. We went to Chicago, and I picked up another bottle of this, and I said, buddy, as soon as we get home, we're opening up the first one I got.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we did. 500 miles in a car, or it was about 400 miles in a car. But then as soon as we got there, like, you know what? I'm not that tired. We're going to try this Lagavulin 25. And you're right, the neck pour was just as impressive as this pour is. I really don't feel like I'm getting anything more. But again, I agree with you. A whiskey that is just ready to roll right from the neck pour and is giving you, 98% of what it's got. That's a sign of a great whiskey.
This is the most complex sherry bomb I've ever had.
And it's a sherry bomb. This is something I've noticed with sherry whiskeys. They really tend to get thick legs, kind of on the side of the glass after you've had a drink or two. Like it almost leaves a stain on the side of like the bottle and the glass when it's some really thick, oily sherry. We get that from some of the Catalans that are cast strength, that are, the older ones. And it's showing up on my glass now, which is always a sign of excellent, oily, rich, thick sherry.
Classic European bodega whiskey.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting here. So, second drink, what do you think about it?
So I'm picking up a little bit of a candy cigarette now. I'm getting more vanilla, bourbony kind of sweetness, kind of slipping in there a little bit. I'm still getting all the spices. I'm still getting all the epic whiskey. It's shifted the transition a little bit. It's a little more even, a little more balanced. It basically kind of brought the whiskey a little bit together, which I don't know is a good or bad thing here. But yeah, I'm not teasing out a whole lot of new notes as we've added water.
No. It's kind of, again, it's what we said. It's mint. It's Lagavulin. It's that beautiful tobacco note. God, it's rich. And so, but the only thing different on the palate is the spice is just so there.
Yeah.
And there are multiple spices there. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of cardamom.
Yes.
I would say just a dash of salt too, just a dash of salt.
Oh, salt's definitely in there.
Almost like a little bit of salt on your eggs, you know what I'm saying? Just to enhance it slightly.
Yeah.
But the salt isn't like overpowering, like a super maritime note to it. It's just throwing in there kind of at the end.
Yeah, I don't get like, I'm drinking whiskey by the sea on this one. It's more of...
I'm drinking whiskey in an old room with old leather furniture that's hundreds of years old, that hasn't been touched in a while, and they didn't polish it. They put one of those blankets over it to keep the dust off it, and they just kind of just removed it, like an old stately house somewhere in the,
Virginia.
Yeah, or somewhere in, Great Britain.
1600. Oh, yeah, Great Britain, too.
So,
I'm thinking here in the U.S., I haven't been to Great Britain, so I can't. I don't have those olfactory notes ready.
Right. So, yeah, here in the States, we think a couple hundred years is a long time.
Exactly, yeah. Good point. We're like 1600s, it's ancient.
Yeah, no. They got pictures from back then. They're on the wall. Lagavulin was probably still there. But yeah, I mean, this is a super, super impressive Lagavulin. I mean, again, I love Lagavulin in general. So of course I was gonna be impressed with this. This was a bottle I had to get my hands on. You know how much I pined over, getting different bottles. And this one is something that I would gladly pay for again if I can get a chance to get my hands on.
And I'll tell you what, Mike, we're saying all these notes, and the people listening have probably heard us use every one of these notes on another whiskey. This does it better. I think this just does it better. There is not a sherried whiskey, like heavy, not necessarily first fill, but I mean, this dark. There's not another whiskey that is this just complex, rich, bold. I mean, the peat is still just staggeringly strong. I mean, it's not the strongest Lagavulin we've had. It's probably the 24-year-old from the same vintage year.
Yeah, same 1991.
But this one is every bit, to me, as good as any Lagavulin we've had. It's a different experience. This is a completely different experience.
I agree. So this is a good time. Let's get to a whiskey score and let's compare it to the other Lagavulins we've had. Or let's just say Islas in general.
I mean, this is, for me, this one and the 24-year-old are kind of sit on a pedestal as the top two whiskeys. I forget what I gave that one, but I'm assuming I gave it a 94, and I think I'm going to go 94 on this one as well.
We both gave that a 94.
Okay.
That's correct, and you are correct. Dustin's referring to the 24-year-old from the 2015 Face Show Lagavulin that we brought you guys that no one really watched.
Yeah, it's crazy, guys.
That was the one.
Yeah, one of the greatest whiskeys we've ever reviewed.
But yeah, I don't know, I can't remember where it's at as far as a whiskey review, but it wasn't that long ago.
No.
I remember we did Whiskey Review 200, which seems like it was just a short time ago, and we did Lagavulin 20 there. Yeah. I know it was after that, so something between 200 and this 250. But yeah, I have thought about this quite a bit, and I knowing we were going to do it this weekend, I put a lot of thought into my whiskey score on this one, so I'm going to call it a 93.75, and hear me out here. Vintage 1991, you have this 25-year, you have the 24-year from Facial 2015, and you have the 21-year from 2012. This is going to sound crazy, but this is, of the three, my least favorite 1991 vintage Lagavulin, by a small hair. By a very, very small hair. I think the 21 from 2012 was a bit more sherried, which I preferred, and I believe the 24-year was my best overall Lagavulin experience at a 94.
Have I had that 21 year?
Not with me, you.
Okay, then I have not had that one. Okay.
Not with me, but I rank both of those as a 94.
Okay.
And so I rank this one as a 93.75. It is just as good of a whiskey in a different way, as you mentioned before. But if I had to choose one, I would choose the 24 first, the 21 second, and this third. This is why I'm giving it a 93.75. Even though I'm giving it a bronze medal from the 1991 vintages, what I will say is this is still one of the 5 best Islas I've ever tasted.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is just unbelievable. And mind you, Mike's just being crazy over here. He gave it a 94 in case anybody missed that.
Yeah, 93.7. So I want there to be a difference.
Think about how many 90s you've given where you would probably be able to easily rank them. Like, it's just one of those things. Yeah, a lot of whiskeys are going to fall into that realm.
Yes. Yeah, this is a stunner. I'm nitpicking, but that's part of the reason for the Whiskey Review channel is to say the small nuances, between these different whiskeys. But again, I would still rank this 3rd or 4th best Isla I've ever had. I've had some great Islas.
Yeah.
I just I don't know if you heard this, but I had a Port Ellen 10th release 31-year-old here recently.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So in that particular one, I mean that was a 93. This is a better whiskey than that, in my opinion. Having just the sample.
Doesn't shock me.
But that 24 still takes the cake for me, but this is still just an epic display.
I mean, the 24 is more Lagavulin. The sherry casks here have taken some of the Lagavulin out of this, but they put in a whole nother magical thing. And if you're a sherry bomb lover, you're gonna like this whiskey.
You can't not like this whiskey.
You're gonna be blown away. You're not gonna realize how complex sherry whiskey could be.
Yeah, no. And so in closing, let's just say, as far as price on this bottle, I was able to get a really good deal on this first one from, again, Micah at the Party Source. I think I got it for like $1,050 plus tax. Overseas, they always went for $1,500. And I got another one in Chicago, I think, for $11.99. So, they're still around. There's 8,000 bottles, so it's not a super, super limited release. And now they're kind of coming back down. Where at first they started off hot, man. They started like $1,500, $1,600. And now they've kind of settled back here a little bit, but every bit worth you know, $1,000-$1,200 bottle of whiskey. If you're a fan of Islay or Lagavulin, this is the bottle you want to own.
It's really surprising that this one hasn't gone crazy secondary, but again, like you said, 8,000 bottles.
8,000 bottles.
That's a lot of bottles at 4 figures.
A lot of bottles. You know, if it was 2,200, 2,300, like, you know, the 22 and the 21, you know, it might be a different story.
And it's not bourbon, where they could release 60,000 bourbons at that price and they'd sell.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. You know, you're
Happy
absolutely
20.
right. You know, I guess it's a more limited affair as far as people who are huge Lagavulin fans than I assume. You know, it's easy when you love something and you think, like, this is the pinnacle of what I think whiskey should be as far as a distillery.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to think, like, oh, how could people pass this up? But, you know, everyone has different tastes.
I don't own a bottle.
No.
And I love this whiskey, but it's expensive.
It's pricey.
Really expensive.
Actually, you were with me when I bought both bottles.
I was.
Actually, I bought the second bottle on your card because we got them mixed up in a bar.
Yeah.
True story for another time. Here's the thing. If both of you have the exact same credit card, do not go to a bar and split a tab. You will be working out the details forever.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
No. I mean, there was, you know, money kickback rates and, you know, cash back options we had to consider. I mean, literally, we had to work out a spreadsheet of what we were doing with each other's cards.
And the worst part of all of this, guys, we'd only had 26 pours ahead of time. It wasn't like we'd had anything crazy.
No, yeah. We just did a whiskey tasting, got confused at the bar afterwards, had a little lunch, and then spent the rest of the time in Chicago spending on each other's cards.
Yeah.
I will say I got the better of you.
So I should have bought a lot more whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, that's a little bit of an inside story. We'll talk about it sometime, and I'm sure in greater detail. But
If
anyway,
we ever get to doing some live streams with you guys, though, that's definitely that's
a
a
story.
weekend that will probably get covered for a stream at some point.
Absolutely. All right, so that's where we're at. Lagavulin 25 Whiskey Review 250. We want to bring you something special. We have a lot more good stuff to come here. But this Lagavulin 25 from 2016, epic whiskey. Dustin's at a 94. I'm at a 93.75. First time I've given that whiskey score. I feel like a cheater.
You are.
It happens. Until next time, Dustin, what do we wish the folks?
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.